We'll give everybody just 2 more minutes then, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I think it's going to be a little, there's Barbara. There she is. Sasha, we're still moving some folks over into the meeting from the board, so we're going to give them just 1 more minute and then we can go ahead and get started. Works for you?
Yeah, that works. Sorry, I got logged out of my computer, so let me just figure this out and we'll do it. Does it look like I'm looking at you guys? Or does it look like I'm looking down?
A little bit down.
Okay.
Not too much though. I see Barbara on our panelist list, but I'm not seeing her on my screen. Are you seeing her now? Oh, there she is. Hi, Barbara.
Good morning, everyone.
Is that better, Danette?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, why don't it's 10 till, so we can go ahead and just get started. We don't have any voting items today anyway, so the quorum is not as critical as it might be at another time. And then if people can join us, we will welcome them. Sasha, to you.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the ABC Community School Partnership Board meeting. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We are not going to have any voting items like Danette said on the agenda today. So we're going to just get started with some updates. So one thing that we did ask as a board are some of the progress reports that Danette is going to present. So I'll turn it over to you, Danette.
Thank you. So Chloe, if you want to, there we go. Sorry. So one of the things that we had talked about a couple meetings back was really just looking at progress to goal and some of the goals that the board had set the strategic direction around for the ABC team and the APS team. And so we've really been working closely together to ensure that the direct support to schools is in alignment with what we said we were going to do. So one of the big highlights today is really looking at the community school development bucket of work, that focus area. And what we had said in that is that we were going to provide technical assistance to schools to develop high quality implementation of community schools. I do want to say that some of the other areas, also sustainability and sustainable community schools, as well as engaging communities. So some of those are also touched on here. And I'm going to turn it over to Chloe and Brian, who really led the effort in achieving some of the great work that happened in the last month.
Thanks, Jeanette. Good morning, everybody. So congratulations to all of the community school grant awardees. We're so excited. All of the schools within our network that applied were granted. And so we're just really, really excited. We wanted to share with you really briefly just some of the supports on our end, what happened behind the scenes to support all of our schools, all of the hours that went in, and the partnership that took place between ABC and APS, and how that partnership just made this grant process easier for folks. We have some really great feedback that we received that I'm so excited to share with you all. So I'm just going to go into the numbers. So this is how much did we do? Kind of behind the scenes and face-to-face support that we offered. Alex did a lot of work behind the scenes. She worked so hard to crosswalk the grant rubric and all of the grant stuff with ABC tools and the latest theory of action that came from the Community Schools Forward Task Force. And so that gave coordinators a lot of guidance on where to find their evidence for each certain question, and how it aligned to best practice from the national lens. So thank you so much, Alex. She worked really, really hard behind the scenes that nobody saw that, but it was really, really helpful, and it supported our coordinators a lot. We were also present at the PED conferences. And then we followed up with a Q&A session. Jake was available to take questions from all the coordinators and principals on the grant process. And then we put together an FAQ sheet that's sent out to answer those questions for folks. There's a little more work that happened behind the scenes. And then the heavy lift was through that whole week that folks had to complete, at least within our network, their grant application. So we offered 10 live Q&A sessions. It was a total of, I think, 75 hours. And that was in conjunction with APS. They brought their team along with Title I, Grant Management, and they were just awesome and available to answer a lot of questions along with us. So that was a really heavy lift. It took up all of our time that week, but it was we got a lot of feedback that it was really helpful to a lot of folks. And so that was the big part. And then our the few days of that week, our team was reviewing all those grant applications. There were many. And so we broke it up amongst our team, reviewed, provided feedback. And we also got feedback back from our folks that was also very helpful as they were just refining their answers and getting them in on time. And so that's a total of 139 intentional hours of support that we, APS and ABC, provided jointly. And that doesn't include the one-on-one support requests and all those impromptu calls and emails that came up along the way. And so we'll just go through, give you some numbers. Oh, this one's the one that I was really excited to share with you. So this came from these are two different emails that came from us from a couple of our coordinators. So I'll just read you this first one. They applied for a planning grant. So finding out that our school was awarded a planning year grant was a great way to end a busy day. This accomplishment would not have been possible without the coaching, training, resources, support, encouragement, and honest advice that you all have provided me. In my 3 decades in public education, I have never had such good fortune to have such an amazing team of professionals in my corner. It's been quite a journey and will continue to be an adventure, but I'm reassured by the knowledge that I'll be privileged to continue to work with you all. Just, that one's so good. And then this one came through to us too. That was really sweet. I wanted to take a moment to say a huge thank you to all of you and your team. I saw the list of schools that were awarded the NMPED grant. I know I saw a lot of these folks in the meetings while I was there, and all that work paid off. And we're still waiting for more feedback to come. We just sent our kind of satisfaction survey out to all the folks that received some grant support. And so we'll have some more feedback on, how those sessions worked well for people, and some more feedback. So next, we'll just kind of go through the numbers. I'm really excited to share with you the total number that was awarded to all of our schools. So for our planning grant awardees, our traditional schools, it's a total of 300,000. Charter schools, a total of 150,000. Implementation grant, we had a lot more. So the total combined with year 1 and year 2 is 2,593,753. And then our year 1 implementation schools and year 2, and this is more, 600,000 for our charter schools. Our renewal grant awardees was a total of 283,000, a shorter list. So the total was about 3 million for our traditional schools, 825,000 for our charters, and a total of around 4 million that came to all of our network schools that applied for the grants. So we're super excited about all of that came through.
Thank you, Chloe. I really would love to hear from Brian. Can you, excuse me, from Brian, because I know that you coordinated a number of the teams inside APS to help support the schools as well as, and I'd love to hear more about that. As well as I know there are a number of schools who do not currently have coordinators, which fell on the principals then to write these grants, and you spent a lot of time. So I'd love to have the board hear about how that sort of played out from your side and the work that the teams did together from your perspective to really create the space in response to things that we've heard over the years.
Thanks, Danette. I appreciate the opportunity, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's hard to follow Chloe and fireworks, just so you all know. And those numbers as well. But thank you, Danette, for the opportunity to inform the board in reference to all this effort. And as Chloe said, it could not have been done if it wasn't a collaborative, unified effort. And so for the sake of time and being focused on what Danette's asking me to do, really wanting to highlight the district effort in reference to the Title I department specifically, Penelope Bashar, Rebecca Ariano, all of our budget techs and resource teachers were so dedicated in all of the sessions to provide, I think, a really crucial part of the support in the sense that the narrative was so well supported by the ABC team, the coordinators and the principals, but really that X factors really helping develop really effective budgets. And so those resource teachers, those budget techs, Rebecca, Penelope, they were just so crucial to tying the narrative to the budget, knowing that any good grant has those key ingredients for success. And so that was so critical, and a big shout out to our Title I team, and also Robert Donovan, our resource teacher, who always works very hard on behalf of the schools and the department. The other piece that Danette asked me to address was the fact that in some cases, we're excited that schools who applied for a planning grant or are not community schools as of yet, but thanks to this opportunity, we're able to attain a planning grant, inherently did not have a coordinator employed. And of course, there are some vacant positions in our partnership in which the principal had to take on a higher level of load. And so really appreciate all of the principals, all of the coordinators, and how engaged they were. It's important to send and receive this kind of support, and it was so well received by our principals and our coordinators. And so whether it was running up to a school in person or getting together with someone on Zoom, the principals who do not have coordinators were really engaged and received a high level of support from ABC, from Title I, from myself. So they felt really embraced by this effort. And so what an exciting time. We really appreciate it. And the last thing I wanted to add, Danette and board, is this slide is in addition to pretty unprecedented numbers of school-based contributions from schools from their own budgets. That is also part of that sustainability picture that keeps getting clearer and clearer and more sustainable by the year. So thank you, Danette. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity, and I'll stand for any questions. Danette.
Thank you, Brian. And I want to say that this was a huge lift. One thing that didn't come out in that was that PED really worked hard in response to schools needing to get their money sooner. But what in the process of PED's response time and really being wonderful about that, we sort of planned out based on the last 3 years grant programs, like our plan to support schools. And that all came out almost 5 weeks early this year. So we really had to pivot. The team had to pivot and really come up with a way to structure deep supports. And the grant was completely different. in some cases, it was a lot easier, but it was still different. So the teams had to come together and really make a quick plan to support schools. This is also the second year in a row that every single school that was supported by the ABC APS staff teams were funded. Every grant that was submitted was funded for the second year in a row. And I think that the two factors in that are, one, anybody who was in a planning year or embarking upon a planning year was participated in cohorts with Chloe and Deanna that led them to be ready to write a grant. So those beginning schools really had the opportunity to pace through the year to be ready. And then the rest of the schools who had been implementing also had a lot of information that probably was not necessarily available to the rest of the state because of the way that, Brian, myself, Deanna, Chloe all sit on New Mexico Coalition for Community Schools. Either Brian and I are on the coalition, Deanna and Chloe support committees on the coalition. And the state is very much aligned to the national research, which ABC stays very plugged into the national research. So everything that came out, our schools had tools, had experiences, had other pieces of information in the end, because of that alignment, because of the national and statewide involvement that folks in all of our partnership stay plugged into. So the work at all of the systems levels really supported the system of schools that we have here within the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County area. And I know that every single person that Brian and Chloe mentioned were, working very long days trying to make sure that they could read grants, support grants, help people change budgets, do different things. So kudos to all. Congratulations on that. And then Brian, you want to announce the fabulous event that you are supporting through the committee you chair?
Thank you so much. Once again, Danette, as part of the capacity building subcommittee, as part of the coalition, really broad group of stakeholders across the state, we are very, very excited to offer the opportunity for learning, networking, partnership, all the wonderful kinds of things we do in community schools in the area of the first annual New Mexico Community Schools Conference, which will be held here at Bonifacio Professional Development Complex in APS. And so we're very honored to host as in our facility. But really appreciate the work that the NMPED has done in designing what's going to be a really wonderful learning opportunity for principals, coordinators, folks who support community schools, partners, community members. So it is a very inclusive invitation to all of you, and we hope you can stop by and attend with us. And so we will be presenting information specifically for principals, for coordinators. We'll be immersing ourselves in the 6 key practices. And then in the afternoon, we'll be looking at some bright spots, some success stories throughout the day, and then getting into the technical aspects of things, which I think are also important towards the end of the day. But it's going to be an amazing opportunity to reconnect after, in some cases, multiple years of not being able to see folks in person. So shout out to NMPED, ABC, Swift Community Schools, all of our partners who are going to be joining us that day. And we look forward to seeing you all that day as well. It's on Wednesday, May 10th from 8 to 3 p.m. Thanks, Danette.
So we are going to move on to bright spots. And we have a lot of them. The first one is we would like to welcome Lindsay Woolwell back to the community school fold here. ABC is contracted with Lindsay to play the role of project director with the full service community schools grant. She will be 100% focused on supporting Hodgen Elementary School, McKinley Middle School, and Del Norte High School in the integration and implementation of the full service community school investment over the next 4.5 years. Hopefully she'll stick around for 4.5 years. That's the plan. So we just wanted to let everyone know that that's moving along, and next month we'll have an update on that full service grant. It's got a lot of moving parts to it, and so we want to keep the board informed because it is a very it's an important opportunity for New Mexico and very much for our network of schools. And now I'm going to turn it over to a special guest that we're very excited to have, Natalie Vigil from Chaparral Elementary School. To just give us a little bright spot, I heard something from New Mexico PTA, just a little story about her experience with Chaparral, and it really was fantastic. And I wanted to invite her to come talk to you all just a little bit about what's going on there with their PTA efforts.
Hello. Good morning. So am I going to be talking about the PTA or the community school, or just like all around the school in general?
A little bit about your project is what would be great, so that the board kind of knows what the School of Excellence program is, what that is, but also your experience as a parent, pre and post community school transition.
Okay. Well, I have 2 children, 8 and 11, that are at Chaparral currently. They're 5th grade and 3rd grade, and they've been there since kindergarten. And I also have 3 older children, 24, 21, and 19, that also attended Chaparral. And this year has been so great. It's been so wonderful from a parent standpoint and from the PTA standpoint as well, because I'm the PTA president over there. And from what I see on both ends, this is just a really great environment for parents, for kids. It feels so welcoming. It feels like you really got support from, the staff to, the teachers to, administration, that everybody's on the same page and everybody's there to help and, listen to any concerns that anybody may have. And in the past, it was never like that. I can't remember meeting a principal one time out of all those years my kids have been through the school. But now I see, Miss Mondragon completely engaging with parents and families, and Val, and everybody's such a great team that, and everybody works so well together that these family nights that we're having are absolutely, like, I think it went from like 65 people to 200, 10 people, and everybody has such a great time. You can see it. I mean, the families, it keeps growing each time we have it. And it's so much fun. It's a lot of fun. And it feels great to walk into the school and just feel welcome and not feel like you're kind of, you're taking up somebody's time, and, that they would talk to you about something and just rush you out of the door and not really hear what your children may be experiencing at school, whether it be, good or bad. But everybody communicates, from the teachers that they have, they're wonderful, to, like I said, administration. And, us being PTA, it feels really great to really be like a part. I feel like I'm a part of the school. Like, I never felt that way before. And I really feel like I'm a part of the school, and like I really know what's going on in the school, and that feels wonderful. And like I know I could go to Val and be like, hey, what's going on with this, or or they come to us as the PTA and they're like, well, the kindergarten and 1st grade teachers need new whiteboards. and that we're able to provide that for them. And like I said, everybody is just, I really like the changes I've seen in this school. And it was never like this with my older children at all. And I just see it getting better and better. And this year, from the start of the year, the beginning of the year, it's something totally different. It's what I've experienced in a private school with my kids. You know, like just the camaraderie, you know, the attention given to your kids. And we experienced that at Bosque School. And this is very, very, very much like what we experienced at Bosque School. And it feels great. It really does feel great to be a part of this.
Thank you so much. We also have a community school coordinator and administrators from Chaparral, and I just wanted to give you all an opportunity to add anything.
First of all, thank you so much, Madam Chair, members of the Community School Board. We are so lucky to have Ms. Vigil as our PTA president and a partner in our community school. The PTA School of Excellence program is something that Chaparral was a part of back in the 80s. And so now they have asked us, because of our status back then and all of the work that our PTA has put into the school now, and us becoming a community school, we've had to, our PTA and Ms. Val have gone through a variety of different trainings. They have participated in different opportunities provided by the National PTA in order for us to work towards becoming a school of excellence. And so we've received different amounts of money to help us get there. And moving forward, we just cannot wait to grow our partnership with our PTA to help support our vision and what the work that we're doing here as a community school. It's a bond that's growing quickly, and we know that they're always going to have our back. And I'd love for Ms. Val to speak more about the School of Excellence and the trainings that she's gone through with the PTA.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us. We are super excited. I have been with Chaparral for 5 years, several different roles. This is my first year as a community school coordinator. And I have yet to see a PTA work as well as the PTA that we have put together this year. Natalie is just really wonderful to work with. And when we were first asked to partake in the School of Excellence program, we kind of did a deep dive into what that meant for us. And over the last 6 to 7 months, we have offered surveys to our families. We had a really nice turnout. We were proud to get back 92 of the surveys. And what we heard from our families was they feel welcome at our school, and they agree with what Natalie said. There's been a change this year. We are about to do our final survey. We're going to see if some of the few things that they thought we could grow in, we've started to kind of make the change, mostly with our family nights. When I first started here, we had 0 participation in family nights. And now we have families coming. They feel welcome. They're excited to see us. They're excited to see each other. So we'll do one final survey next week, actually, and we'll see if our community thinks that we've grown in the few places that we needed to. So we're really excited about it. And just, I can't thank our PTA enough, and they've been just wonderful to work with.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear, like, when we see these big, lofty, like, key practices of building a culture of safety, care, and belonging, and authentic family and community engagement and voice. Like, those are big things to do in large organizations, and schools are large organizations, and principals are leaders of large organizations, and coordinators are their partner in that work, and the council is the partner in that work, and PTA is a critical piece of that, or any parent organization that might be in a school. And I think that one of the exciting things, one, is that when we see it really it's rare that we have someone who experienced a school before transforming into a community school and then had it was really in the same or similar role after that. When people say, well, what different, isn't every school a community school? Every school has community in it, but it's not necessarily that transformative implementation of the strategy of really focusing on what is important to that school community. And I think this is such a beautiful example of that. And I know you guys have worked really hard. There are, I believe, 5 community schools that are a part of this School of Excellence program. And I do also want to say that PTA reached out to ABC. We do a lot of work through different avenues with them and said, you know what, can you give us a list of community schools? Because every time we've worked with a community school, it has been a really great experience. And we really want to just work with community schools in this realm for this project. And so we gave them the list. They reached out to schools. ABC didn't have a whole lot to do with anything beyond that, other than saying, here's the schools. And we think these folks are folks that really are excited about family engagement work. And then PTA took it from there. But I love it when people reach out to say, hey, we worked with community schools and it's great. And we want to keep working with community schools. And we want to invest our time and energy where there's a community school coordinator and a collaborative leader. And Chaparral is also, I believe, a school that took this on themselves with their own funding and their own efforts and said, this is who we want to be. And we don't broker dollars or braid dollars for them at this point. They started on their own. And I think it's a testament to the leadership and belief about that, about the strategy. So kudos to you all. And thank you for really believing in a strategy and walking your talk and investing your own time, talent, and treasure into making this happen. ABC really appreciates you and the work that you do as a school and being able to lift that up. Any questions or comments or thoughts that anyone would like to share?
I'm so happy that this exists. It's such a wonderful opportunity for everybody involved, and it really benefits the students. It really does, and the families of this school. And this is such a huge change to what I never knew that a public school could be this way, honestly. And I only thought you found this in private schools, but here we are, and it's fantastic. And I'm so happy. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
That's what we want to hear. Thank you. Thank you guys for taking the time to be here this morning as well and in talking with everyone. We have lots of bright spots as mentioned today. So we're going to turn it over to Deanna, I believe, for the next bright spot.
Thank you so much. This is, of course, one of my favorite things to talk about, which is our partnership with the law school. So we mentioned this a few board meetings ago, and here is the result. So the law school sends upper level law students into public school classrooms to teach high school students about their constitutional rights and responsibilities. And then they participate in a moot court competition. And if there is funding, which luckily one of our partners, the Robert T. Keeler Foundation, was able to contribute to, and some other funding came forward for these students to travel to Washington, D.C. to compete at the national competition. So the 7 high schools that had the law students teach in the classrooms were Atrisco Heritage High School, Belen Bernalillo High School, Highland High School, South Valley Academy, West Mesa, and Valley. And of those, there were 6 finalists that ended up going to Washington, D.C. And those were 2 students from Atrisco Heritage, 2 students from Highland High School, 1 student from West Mesa, and then 1 student from Valley. And these scholars, they prepped, they purchased professional clothing, as you can see in some of these photos. For 2 of these students, it was their first time ever on an airplane. For all of the students, it was their first time in Washington, D.C. And the professor at the law school who leads this project, she sent us a note that she told us that all of these students delivered very articulate, thoughtful arguments. The arguments that they were arguing were a Fourth Amendment search and seizure and a First Amendment right of speech problem that they had to articulate in front of the local judges. And they were competing against some pretty fancy schools, including Yale Law School and some other Sandra Day O'Connor law schools. And they did very well. In fact, one of the students from Atrisco advanced right into the semifinal round. And so the judges, a couple of the judges actually said that our students surpassed some of the arguments made by many of the actual law students. So they were very, very impressive at the national level. We should all be very proud of them. And of course, they took some time visiting monuments and the Smithsonian's and bonding with each other and with their law school coaches. And it's also a project that hopefully inspires them to become advocates, maybe lawyers, but maybe just opening up their vision to what's possible for them as high school students now and scholars. So we want to congratulate these high school scholars, the fellows at the law school who made this possible, and our partners with the ABC Community School Partnership who really made this possible. And I know it will continue again next year, so you can look for these students in your local community school high schools and potentially other high schools as well.
Sienna, if I could just add, I really, when we talk about equity and truly creating the opportunity for students who would not otherwise have this type of opportunity, the fact that the partnership helped us engage kind of our network of people to help fund this opportunity is really important, because without private dollars, often our rules around funding wouldn't allow to purchase clothing, wouldn't allow them to purchase a plane ticket or food while they're on it. Like when we deal with some of the rules that we impart upon our funding, it really impedes equitable opportunities. Because the students, I could almost guarantee that whoever was coming from the Yale Law School, those were not issues that they were dealing with. Our students wouldn't have been able to go, and they certainly wouldn't have felt comfortable and confident by having what they needed to be present in a space like this if it wasn't for the work of the Keeler Foundation, which really is a part of an organization that Deanna has really cultivated in helping us have really flexible funds. Commissioner Piscotti, who really gave her, her district directed dollars over part of that to the law school with no restrictions, that really made this possible and allowed them. They created their own little kind of clothing bank so that they can continue to help students who don't have access to those things. So thank you so much to the board for, saying, yes, ABC team, go bang on doors somewhere else and try to find whatever you can to make this happen, because it is time and effort that pulls us away from other things sometimes. And we want to make sure that people know that when we have the opportunity to create flexible funds, we need to do that, because it's our rules get in the way of our students being able to really thrive in an equitable way. So thank you to everyone. This is so cool. I know in working at the YMCA for years and years and with teens, taking trips with teenagers is, every time I ever did that in 14 years, I know that I talk to some of them now in their 40s. Unbelievable, I know, right? But that those trips change their lives forever, and they still talk about those opportunities that they had. And so I am positive that these students will be, 30 years from now saying, remember when that changed my life. So thank you. Yeah.
Oh, this is also me. Great. So this is an article. We will send a link out to you all, but 3 of our international district community school coordinators were recognized specifically for the work that they are doing with students who are experiencing housing instability, and how they work, hand in hand with local nonprofits and other organizations to really help stabilize these students and their families as far as their housing situations. And so we were very excited to see them recognized here. We want to tell them congratulations. It is Amanda Rubio from Hayes Middle School, Charlton Simmons from Highland High School, and Amanda Carbajal from Van Buren Middle School. And I know they also actually work really closely with each other as well too, because often these students cross, they are in multiple schools. The family has students of multiple ages. So just huge congratulations and wonderful recognition of these community school coordinators. And then on that similar note, some of you might know that in my spare time, I am part of a very small housing nonprofit with my friend who's a professor at the law school, Serge Martinez, and we were recently recognized for our small nonprofit in a national blog post with the Urban Institute. It's getting a lot of attention on social media, which is a little bit scary for us, but it was very specifically focused on the fact that we looked at how schools can play a key role in housing stability for students and how important it is that students have housing stability while they're in school, because those disruptive moves that come through eviction and other horrible things that happen to kids can really have an impact. Serge is very proud of the fact that he used the word in this quote, deleterious, which I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but it has a very negative effect on their educational outcomes. And we see this connection over and over and over. We also recognize that teachers are very often the first ones who notice when students are camping in the park, right, last night or things. And so our nonprofit works directly with community school coordinators and the Title I McKinney-Vento social workers. And we are able to get assistance for rent or for other homelessness assistance that might be needed out very, very quickly. And we're very proud of the fact that we've built these strong partnerships with the community school network here and that was really the highlight of this article. So just wanted to share that with you all.
Congratulations, Deanna. I'm going to add too that I don't know that it's always apparent that the people sitting on this board also create access for the ABC team to have conversations and to engage resources, much like the Marshall Brennan project. The housing work and the housing stability and family stability work that we do that maybe isn't quite as upfront is because all of the board members that are sitting here today are access points for us. The fact that the city, the county, and Albuquerque Public Schools, as well as everyone else that sits on the board, are front and center and dealing with these issues as our city and county and the McKinney-Vento program and APS. We also have been able to create pipelines with United Way through the Seymour Foundation and East Central Ministries in the International District to provide supports and services. In fact, I was on a meeting with East Central Ministries and they said the funniest thing ever. They were talking about the referrals that they get, and this is the upstream trying to keep families from becoming homeless. And they said the Amandas, and it's the two Amandas that you see on the screen. They're like, we're not sure. She couldn't remember which schools. She's like, but the Amandas, they're always in contact with us. But we wouldn't have those points of access without this board being in deep partnership, without the ability, if we call the city picks up the phone. If we call the county's departments, the county picks up the phone. McKinney-Vento is in constant communication with Deanna because this is such a priority, and it is such a, when we talk about needing to know our data, this is data that comes from the community schools that they need support in keeping families stable so that kids can be ready to learn, which in turn helps teachers in the fact they're trying to help, they're teaching kids who need to be ready to learn. So sometimes it's not as obvious, and we really wanted to make sure that this bright spot the coordinators working to help stabilize their families in partnership with all of the community coming together is critical. It's y'all sitting at this table being willing to be a part of the ABC Community School Partnership Board and this joint powers agreement that helps pave the way for this. We cannot stress enough that without you, it doesn't work. And so we are so grateful for everyone who takes the time in their very busy schedules to be here and to work with us and to pick up the phone when we call. So thank you, Deanna, for all the work you do in supporting coordinators and supporting things outside of that make these things possible.
Awesome. So I think before we have announcements, we have a strategic planning, or I forget how we call it, in June, but I think there's some major conflicts with some of our entities and organizations and partnerships. So I did want to propose that we consider moving the dates, and I believe Danette has some suggestions for that.
So yeah, thank you, Sasha. So in June, our board meeting conflicts with the Community School National Conference, and a number of folks from Albuquerque Public Schools, of course, and most of the ABC team will all be at that conference in Philadelphia. And so one of the things that we've been trying to figure out in partnership with the APS Community School Support Team is how we support all of these new schools and being very mindful of our resources and investments and of being very efficient with the investments in both of our teams. And we were wanting to propose potential, maybe more of a, not really a retreat in June per se, but more of a learning opportunity and workshopping some ideas that the internal teams of both the district and the ABC staff have been thinking through in how we work in the most efficient and effective way to support schools in the best way we can. So we wanted to propose, or at least see if the board was open to potentially not having a board meeting in June, but having more of a learning exchange workshop towards the end of June, maybe a half day, and getting the board's feedback on whether or not they would be open to that. And we can send out a doodle or something that tries to find the day that would work the most. Is that something that folks would be open to at least exploring if we can find a day? Any thoughts?
Barbara put in the chat that sounds good to her.
Anybody really just like can't swing that, would prefer not to do that, and perfectly understandable if so. I know your calendars are full 6 months in advance half the time.
I will definitely make my best effort.
Thank you, Counselor. Marjorie says yes. So what we can do is send out maybe some potential dates that might work for a half day, and then in agenda, like kind of the agenda items or what we want to talk about, and see if we can figure out a date and time that works for most folks. I would also like to, because it's not a board meeting, would like to invite additional staff to come and give input on this that might be working directly with community schools within the district, within the city, the county, anyone that might want to add those individuals that really have a good knowledge base to give input on where we might want to adjust what we're thinking or expand upon what we're thinking. So we'll include that in the email as well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone's flexibility. Dawned us, we were talking about our travel stuff, but this was going to be a problem that we would be presenting in Philadelphia at that time. Thank you so much. Sasha?
Awesome. So I have an announcement. Actually, I will be resigning from the city. My last day in the office is going to be April 28th. So I'm also going to be leaving the board. And a funny kind of interesting thing that I thought about, my first board meeting, Danette, I don't know if you remember, I chaired the board meeting, my first board meeting 3 years ago, because it was the last day of the city chairing the board. And so here we are 3 years later, and this is the first day of me chairing the board, but my last board meeting. So I just want to say thanks to everyone. This has been a phenomenal experience and opportunity for me, especially with ABC Community Schools. I've just, got to know many of you, and it's been great. I'm still going to be in Albuquerque. I will be around. So if there are any questions or you guys think I should be involved in something else, let me know. But always working for kiddos in the community and making sure our schools are doing better by kids. With that, I also wanted to say that I want to welcome Justine Freeman. She will be taking on a version of my position with the city, and she will also be chairing the Community Schools Board. So I'll give her a second or a few minutes to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sasha. I'm Justine Freeman. I'm with the city of Albuquerque. I've been with the city for about 5 years now, but this will be a new role for me. And so you all are really the experts, and I thank you in advance for your patience, and jumping in as chair should be interesting. Just a little bit about myself. I grew up in New Mexico, but I do have a bachelor's from Mills College and a master's from San Francisco State University. But it didn't start out that smoothly. My teen years were rocky, and it was really community college and teachers there telling me that they believed in me that made all the difference. And so I have so much respect for all of you who create stepping stones for young people to get on the right path, stay on the right path, and it's an honor to be joining you. And if you don't mind, I just want to give a little upcoming event announcement, which is the city's Spring into Summer. That is at Tigway Park. It's the last Saturday of this month from 9 to 2, and it's a great opportunity for families to learn about youth programs and camps and classes. And I'll put the link in the chat. We have flyers in English and I think 6 other languages. So thank you, everyone, and great to be here.
Awesome.
I'm not sure if there are any community announcements or any other board announcements. Marjorie did put in the chat an article on New Mexico children in foster care being placed in homeless shelters. If anyone would like to click on that, we'll also pull that link and add it to the board notes, so folks have that information as well.
Awesome.
Thanks. And if I could also share from University of New Mexico teacher residencies partnering with Albuquerque Public Schools, we are still recruiting for teacher residents to begin coursework this summer and serve a full year as a resident in APS, and then being hired as teachers of record for the next fall. We do work very hard to place our residents in community schools in partnership with APS and the Albuquerque Teachers Federation. So if you have anyone who is interested in being a teacher, especially those who may already have a bachelor's degree, I'll put my email in the chat, but I'd love to talk with them. Thank you.
Any others? Awesome. I think that concludes our meeting. Our next meeting will be May 11th at 8:45, and Justine will be chairing. So thanks, everyone.